the hiring of Catherine Raish as assistant GM and VP of football operations, highest-ranking female in a football executive position in the NFL. Obviously, Amy Trask was the first team president of any NFL team. That was with the Raiders under Al Davis. She had been the VP of football operations with the Eagles. And, you know, something we've said about the Browns, they need an adult in the room when it comes to decisions like what they did with Deshaun Watson. I wonder if she had been in that job when they were deliberating Deshaun Watson, maybe she would have been the adult in the room that caused them to really understand how these dominoes may fall moving forward, because I think they failed dramatically in anticipating what was going to happen. They need somebody there who can serve as a conscience when it's time to make these decisions that could go haywire for the team.
Yeah, and I hope she'll be that person, Mike. And I want to make one quick point here. You know, I already know what's going to come for her, and I know that she knows what's going to come for her, and she obviously probably doesn't care, but is she qualified? That's going to be the question. I don't know her. I've never met her, and until you pronounced her last name, I wasn't even certain how to pronounce her last name. And I don't know if she's qualified or not. I can't answer.
I think. Remember when Roger Goodell became commissioner, and I remember that. Was it Goodell? I did that for a while. Anyway, I'm sorry.
That's good.
Don't assume that I pronounced it correctly.
I'll just say that you pronounce it correctly, but I don't know if she's qualified or not, Mike. But you think about all the people in the NFL who aren't qualified. You know why Jerry Jones has his job as GM? He's the owner of the team. Is he really qualified for that job? You know why Jack Easterby has a job as executive vice president of football ops? Because he's a good preacher. There's a lot of people in the NFL, coaches, executives, who aren't qualified for the positions they're in. And if she's not qualified, she's probably going to be out of there pretty quickly and on to do something else. If she is qualified, she may become the first real GM in the NFL, female GM in the NFL. Leonard Tost gave his daughter the job in 1983 with the Eagles, so there actually has been one, kind of, sort of. But I'm rooting for her, and I hope this works out. I hope she is qualified, and I hope she does a great job and becomes really that trailblazer that, as you said, Amy Trask was high up in the Raiders organization for a long time. But we'll see what she does. But I think this is a pretty big deal for them to do this. And maybe she can be that voice within their organization to have some sense in what they're doing. It's not going to help with the Deshaun Watson deal because that's gone and it's fully guaranteed and he's there with whatever happens. But maybe in the future she can provide some sanity to that team when they go out and try to do something stupid.
Nick Caserio, the GM of the Texans, made it clear yesterday there's no way the Browns get a mulligan on this trade. There are some Browns fans that think maybe this is a way out of this maze. It's too late. It's over. It's done. They knew or should have known exactly what they were getting into. There's nothing that was hidden to them by the Houston Texans. They weren't duped. They made the trade and paid the contract knowing exactly what they were getting, and they should have known, or at least should have anticipated, that things were potentially going to continue to go haywire because the media is not going to ignore the situation and other people may come forward and file a lawsuit. You mentioned Leonard Toes, and he made his daughter the GM. Look, nepotism is another way that people who are unqualified end up getting jobs. And here's the reality. I don't know anything about her qualifications, but we're all over Jack Easterby for being clearly unqualified as he seized control, as a practical matter, of the Houston Texans. We will call out nepotism when, for example, in New England, you have an abysmal defensive performance, give up 47 points to the Bills in a playoff game. You know, it's the kind of thing that people get fired for. Well, you're going to fire Steve Belichick when the head coach is Bill Belichick? Probably not. So then you can't fire any other coaches because you're holding them to a different standard. And now I think that's one of the reasons why we don't know who the hell's doing what in New England. It's harder to have accountability for any of the assistant coaches if the head coach has cloaked the entire operation in this mystery that we can't figure out what the hell anyone is responsible for. It's hard to say you should fire Steve Belichick. He's responsible for the defense. When we don't know who's responsible for the defense, who's responsible for the offense, who's calling the plays. Nobody knows. So the point is there are plenty of people who are in jobs in the NFL for which they lack the qualifications. And the question becomes, if you can't do the job, will you be held to a real standard of accountability, or will the people who are in position to make a change look the other way? And hey, Jerry Jones, it's funny because I had no qualifications to be a reporter when I started into this business, but after 20 years, I've kind of figured out some of the rules and how to do it and how not to do it. And, Jerry Jones, after 33 years of being a GM, that's his qualification. He had no business giving himself the job in the first place, but I'd figure out after 35 years, you get an idea of, how to do it. But that's not how it's supposed to be.
Yeah, well, and he knows the people to lean on now where they can make the draft picks for him and he can be talked out of drafting Johnny Manziel or whoever else, who with Paxton Lynch, whoever else that he wants, he can be talked out of some of those deals, maybe.
They didn't get talked out of Paxton Lynch.
Well, they did.
They can thank the Broncos for saving them from Paxton Lynch. They would have had Paxton Lynch instead of Dak Prescott. They should be very thankful to the Denver Broncos for trading up to get Paxton Lynch.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.